Good morning. This is Dr. Ruby Payne, and I'm doing a 3-part YouTube video series on how to work with parents. Video number 1, how you deal with angry, anxious, and disengaged parents. And basically, part 1 is explaining what happens to them in their autonomic nervous system when they do that. Part 2 is concrete strategies for resolving conflicts. And part 3 is how you deal with social media issues when it involves your parents. What I hear from school people right now is 2 things. 1, disengaged students, and number 2, angry parents. So I'd like to give you some understandings and some strategies. So the first part of this comes out of this book that I just wrote in 2024 called Dealing with Homelessness, Instability, and Disengagement and the Impact of the Autonomic Nervous System. And the autonomic nervous system is basically the body's stress response. So I need to explain a couple things about it because it drives virtually, according to the research, about 99% of people's reactions. And people don't understand it. So I'd just love to give you a little bit of background on it. First of all, your body is an energy system. And one of the things we know, it is both a chemical electrical system. If you have ever been in a room with an angry person and you can feel their anger, basically the waves from the heart go 3 feet out from the body and you can feel it. It's a vibrational system. About 99.9% of everything that happens in your body is under the control of that. And you have about 5 trillion bits of information coming at you at any given time, but your conscious mind can only sort about 10,000 bits. So a lot of your reactions and your parents' reactions are to this vibrational system. And I want to explain it now to you in a very quick video we put together. So here we go.
Imagine that you were around a few thousand or a few million years ago. Your choice. You have been assigned to serve on a committee to plan the perfect human being. So you and your fellow committee members designed a human body with a brain, a heart, kidneys, a stomach, lungs, all of the organs that our bodies have today. You believe you have designed the perfect human being, and you send him out into the world. Within an hour, however, the human is returned to the committee, no longer alive. You're told that he could not remember to make his heart beat while making his stomach digest food, while reminding his lungs to breathe, while making his liver do whatever livers do, and he didn't survive. Your committee then designs a network of nerves leading from the human's brain to the organs. These nerves deliver messages telling the human's organs what to do autonomically. So you call it the autonomic nervous system. You send the human back out into the world, confident he will do well. The next day, your committee is told that the new human was just fine until a saber-toothed tiger appeared. The human smiled and said hi to the tiger, and the tiger ate him. So your committee designed a new human, dividing the nerves of his autonomic nervous system into 2 bunches. You designed one bunch of these nerves to make the human freeze, fight, or flee from threats of danger, and you called this bunch of nerves the sympathetic nervous system. The next day, the human saw a saber-toothed tiger, and his sympathetic nervous system prepared him to flee. His heart started racing, his stomach stopped digesting food, and blood flowed to his legs so he could run. The human successfully escaped the tiger. But after his escape, his organs never returned to normal, and he died from the stress. This time, your committee designed the second bunch of nerves to calm him back down after a threat disappeared. You called these nerves the parasympathetic nervous system. Finally, your new design was successful, and humans still survive to this very day.
So what happens now is that it's governed by the vagus nerve, and it is one of the longest nerves in the body. Actually, there's two vagus nerves, and they are connected to your organs and your response. These two subsystems now basically are the parasympathetic and the sympathetic. Sympathetic nervous system is basically known as fight and run, okay? That's what people do when they don't have safety belonging. And the whole autonomic nervous system operates off of safety and belonging. So when your parents come up to school and they don't think they have safety or belonging, it will trigger autonomic nervous system. And the parasympathetic nervous system, according to Stephen Porges, who was a neonatal researcher, he researched babies who were born prematurely and how their autonomic nervous system developed, that it has two subsystems. One is the ventral system when we are relaxed and we're socially engaged, and one is the dorsal system when we are disengaged. And what Porges did is he said that it operates kind of off of a hierarchy. And basically, this is an oversimplification, but basically, when you and I or our parents who come up to school believe they are safe and they have belonging, they operate at that ventral system. They're socially engaged. You can resolve a conflict. You can talk to them. You can have a conversation with them. They use language to negotiate. And if something they believe is not quite right for their child, they will say to you, you know, this doesn't feel right to me. Can we talk about that? But if that process of social engagement does not get them the results they think they should have, then they'll go to fight or flight. And this is where they argue with you. This is where they're angry at you. This is where they're anxious. This is where the accusations occur, because it's fight or flight. There's not safety here. There's not belonging. So I'm going to argue with you. And the last one is if fighting and running doesn't work for them, then they're going to go disengaged. And they'll shut down. That's where addiction occurs. That's where kids don't come to school. I'm just not here. I'm disengaged. Parents don't return the calls. I'm just disengaged. Shut down. Now, one of the things, and that is an oversimplistic explanation right now, but what happens almost always is when the majority of parents come in and they're angry, they're run or fight. That is where their autonomic nervous system is. And the idea that you can argue back with them and get a result, it's not going to happen. What the issue is there's a need for safety and belonging that they believe is not met. So when they go there, one of the least effective things is to argue back with them. And I want to give you some strategies in the next video you can use. Also, they'll come in at the dorsal vagal level and they'll say to you, I don't know what to do. I don't know. I've just tried everything. I had a counselor in Wisconsin tell me that she had a middle school parent come to her and say to her, I don't want my kid anymore. How do I get rid of him? That's disengagement. And one of the most interesting things is that when you are in fight or flight or the dorsal vagal, your prefrontal cortex is disconnected, which means it's almost impossible for you to reason. So one of the things that has to happen is there has to be an attempt to calm the person down somewhat. And one of the ways you can do that is you can say, could I get you some coffee? Could I get you something to drink? Okay, because water metabolizes cortisol. So what you are looking at is this need to kind of calm them down and be calm yourself before you get into problem solving. One of the things you should know is that one of the things that your autonomic nervous system does is called something called co-regulation, in which when you are in a room with another person, vibrational levels can be modulated. This is research from the Heart Math Institute about Josh, a boy, and Mabel. Josh is the boy and Mabel is the dog. They're separated, and what you see in the lower chart is that you have heart rhythm patterns. And one of the things is that when you're frustrated, angry, your heart rhythm pattern, as you see at the top of the chart, is uneven. When you are in appreciation and care, then as you can see in the next chart, your heart rhythm pattern is even. Well, what happens in Josh and Mabel, they are separated in separate rooms. They put in the same room together, and you can see their heart rhythm patterns are in sync now. They're both calm. And that happens with people. And the second thing you need to know is this, that your autonomic nervous system does something called neuroception. You read the environment without you even knowing it. So what happens then is that you're reading your environment for safety and belonging, for those cues. If you have someone who has been in an unsafe environment for a long time, they are hyper vigilant. They are hardwired to believe that every environment is not safe. So they react that way. On the converse side, if you have somebody who's always been in a safe environment, they have difficulty reading danger. For example, if you've ever heard somebody say, I don't know, that's a really good kid and they did this really stupid thing. Well, yeah, they were not taught how to read certain environments. So yeah, that happened, okay? The other thing that happens is that when you're in this autonomic nervous system then, and when you're in this hierarchy, and you have a parent come in and they're at fight or run, then one of the key pieces you will need to understand is that fighting back or arguing back won't help. So how do you begin to calm them and work with them so that you can actually come to a resolution? And that's what this next video is about. So, in conclusion, basically, what I'm going to say is this. When you are dealing with an angry or an anxious or a disengaged parent, one of the key issues to remember is, where are they on this autonomic nervous system chart? That's one of the first things you want to read. And when you figure that out, then you're going to know what strategy you need from the next video to effectively resolve that issue or problem.